how to be genuinely proud of our great countries, both America and United Kingdom, two of the greatest countries in the world. It's almost like every day now, somebody somewhere, normally on the left, the woke left, is queuing up to find a reason to hate the countries and their histories.
Well, it's a kind of grievance competition. Your guest earlier just tried to engage in it. I don't know what hurt she believes she's had from slavery. All of this was addressed 2 centuries ago. Everything has consequences. All history has consequences and ramifications. But, if we were to play this fairly, we would at least look at all of the countries around the world that engaged in the slave trade who are simply not interested in any form of reparations. The Ottoman Empire, all the Arab countries who not just traded far more slaves than across the Atlantic, but castrated all the men so that there wouldn't be any more African slaves after them. They worked them to the bone. I see no interest across Africa in paying reparations for selling their brother and sister Africans into slavery or for working them to the bone to the present day. There is slavery across Africa today. In fact, there are more slaves in the world today than there were at the height of the transatlantic slave trade. So some of us are simply a bit bored of hearing people ripping at closed wounds and then crying about their hurt or their presumed hurt, because everybody could do this. 1 million Europeans were stolen by North Africans over the course of decades of the North African Barbary pirate slave trade. Where would you end if you did that? The answer is you couldn't end, because nobody is alive who has actually suffered the hurt, and nobody is alive who did the wrong. And I'd make one other point, if I may. It's always the countries that people want to come to who are put through this struggle session. Britain, like America and France, are the most desired destinations for migrants worldwide and have been for centuries. Why is that? It's not because we're racist, it's because we're better, it's because we're good, it's because when we see racism, we actually call it out and recognize it as a sin. Try finding that across Africa. Try finding that across the Middle East or in China. Nobody would hear. So what we have is a situation where the more virtuous countries are presented as the worst countries. It's sick, and most of us are tired of it.
Wow, 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 wow. That's the way you do it, folks. That's the way you do it. That's the way you answer the question. Douglas Murray, 150 seconds, answered it precisely, concisely, succinctly. Put it, and by the way, have you been able to guess who the leftist is, who the racist is in this group? Who the race traitor is, the race baiter, the race hater? Do you need a clue? Come on, folks. Do you really need a clue here? We're going to hear from the person who is a leftist, who is a racist, a little bit in this episode. Don't worry about that. We're going to get to that person. But right now, that's just it. Why is it that it's always the countries that everybody wants to go to? The United States, Great Britain, France, others. Why is it that they're the ones that are most vilified? Not by the people that are trying to get there. Oh no, not by the illegals, not by the migrants, not by the asylum seekers. No, sirree, Bob. No, they are not. Who are they hated upon? Who's the one that starts to do the self-deprecation? Who is it? It's the liberal elites within those countries that have all the rights and privileges, and more privileges than anybody else has. They're the ones that mouth off. And many of them are also within the minority intersectionality groups. So they have even more power, even more grievance, even more virtue signaling themselves. Just like the race traitor that's in this group that we are wondering who it is. But yes, there's a reason, folks out there, in terms of they keep talking about slavery. They keep talking about reparations. They keep talking. Well, who's going to step up to the plate? Like Douglas said, the Ottoman Empire, the Barbary pirates, the African slave traders that went into their own jungles in their own country, captured their own people and sold them to The Westerners sold them to people from England, from France, to the other Western powers. Ooh, are we going to ask them? What about the Indians in North America? What about the Cherokee, the Iroquois, the other tribes that took, that fought with each other, took their lands? Then another tribe came, took that land. Are there going to be reparations for the American Indians? Reparations. That's what I'm saying. Where is it going to start? Where's it going to end? How long do we need to keep saying we're sorry? How long do we have to self-flagellate over this issue? Anyways, folks, that's what was in tap for today, and there's so much more. You're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir, where I give you my political prescription from my political perspective on what happens when you've got race traders and race baiters, and then you've got people that love their country, they love their ethnicity, they love their origin, they love their country, and then you got government and policies and leftists and Democrats and Republicans and right and left and red and blue, and they all come crashing together. Anyways, folks, let's get to more of this discussion, this debate, this interview right now.
Thank you, Douglas.
I am so sorry that Douglas is bored by the pain that has come
That's not what he said.
through slavery.
He didn't say.
I'm
He
so
didn't say.
tired.
See, but what you're
That
doing
he
there, what
is
you're doing,
not-
yeah. But hang on,
that he
Paula.
is not
Paula, you're being very
bothered.
disingenuous. That's not
I
what
don't
he
think
said.
I am,
The
and I
viewers
think
aren't
if you
stupid.
read his article-
They know exactly what he said.
You
He's
are.
not saying he's bored by the pain. He's saying, and I think it's a perfectly valid point. The pain that people who are alive today are claiming they're suffering for what happened 200 or 300 years, it's not a real pain. They're not the ones who suffered what was going on 200, 300 years ago.
So, in terms of justice for all, I mean, I
Justice
think we'd
for
all agree
all.
that there
Well,
should
I'm
be
not
justice.
suffering from when the Normans invaded
we'd
this
all
country.
agree.
I'm not suffering from
Oh,
what
I think
my
we'd all
ancestors went through.
agree.
I noticed
Oh, I
that
think
I'm
we'll
not
all
being allowed to
agree.
respond.
But hang
I
on, or
noticed
from the
if
Romans.
there's-
In other words, where do you take this? I mean, should I now be
Well, I can
feeling...
take
Yes, you know what? Idiots don't need to be responded. Okay, idiots don't need to respond. But you're what I call part of the SIMMER acronym. I now dub thee SIMMER. To the lady, why? Because it stands for SIMR. Stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded. You have now been dubbed SIMMER.
pain
to
from what the Romans did to
2015.
this
In
country?
terms of slavery, I can take it to 2015 when the slave owners were compensated by the government. So I can take it to that.
That
Where
was
did your
wrong.
personal pain
And
come?
I can say to you,
And I can say to you
that I don't think that
I don't.
apologising is a bad thing. I think that apologising for a wrong is a good thing. I think that the Dutch royal family have done a fantastic thing in acknowledging
I think it'll
what,
make...
has,
All right.
what has gone
Okay, I
wrong
hear you,
in
but I
society.
honestly think it'll make...
And so to this race trader, this race baiter, this race hater, this stoker of racial hatred and bring about animosity between the races, all I can basically say is that, well, if I say what I want to say, then this video will probably be pulled. So we can't say that. But it just is that we don't need to say sorry. We're never gonna, as far as I'm concerned, I never want to. You know, we've already apologized 1,000,000 times, and no more apologies. That's it. No more effing apologies for slavery. I'm done with it. I'm over it. It's over. It's done. Finished. Finito. I don't need to talk about it anymore. I've had it up to freaking here with the discussion because of people like you. You weren't hurt. Your family wasn't hurt. You're in a place of privilege. And because you're in a place of privilege, you use that purse to virtue signal to the rest of us. And that's how you that's how you make your money. That's how you get your funding. That's what you do. You foment hatred among people. We know what you're up to. We know your game. We know your bag of tricks. and we're not taking any more. So as far as I'm concerned, sorry ain't the word we're going to tell you. We're going to basically tell you, you know what? Flick off. Flick off. Go away. We don't want to hear you anymore. Thanks, folks. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. And if you haven't done so already and you love our content, subscribe to the channel. We'd love for you to do that. Like, share, and follow us. Y'all know what to do. Check out our other video links here and below. And I'll leave you with my final thought, which has always been, when you're right, you're right. And if you're left like this simmering idiot, you're just wrong. And we're never going to say sorry to you ever, ever, ever again. Never, never, never. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.